Well, we've referred to this all morning as appointment radio. Like, this is where you need to be. And I said it last night on TV on News Channel 13. Like, Frank Caliendo.
Can't DVR this.
You can't DVR. You need to be here right now to listen to Frank, who, by the way, will be here in the Capital Region shows at Rivers Casino on Saturday, December 30th. And Frank joins us here on Big Board Sports 104.5, the Team ESPN Radio in Albany. Frank, Rodger Weiland, Chris Honorado, pleasure to have you. Good morning.
Hey, how are you guys?
We are good, and I feel like I know you because we obviously monitor, well, it's no longer Mike and Mike, but Mike and Mike, and those days, man, you were all over the scene and really enjoyed you on their show, and we appreciate a few minutes joining us here. Let's start with the Rivers Casino, though, Frank, and you're coming there on December 30th. I'll let you take it from there.
Yeah, well, what do you need me to tell you? Because I don't know. Information that this is going terrible. This is the worst interview Calendo's ever done. He's got to give you specifics about the show out there, and he's a knucklehead.
I'll tell you what, man, just go into the impressions, and you'll figure it out any second. FrankOnStage.com can give you all the information for the tickets and stuff like that. I did that so people didn't have to spell Caliendo. So, but yeah, I'm looking forward to coming on out there, and the show is kind of all over the place. A lot of people know me from the sports stuff, the Barkley and the Gruden and stuff like that. But it's a show for everybody, and it's clean for anybody who's wondering about that. I don't think there's a single swear word in it or anything like that. So. Every once in a while, a little bit of innuendo, but nothing you wouldn't hear on the radio or see me have done on television. So people are always a little bit worried about that kind of stuff going into it too. But other than that, it's just fun, and I'll even throw out, at the end, because some of the stuff you guys as sports people know. A lot of the characters, but it's so funny because sometimes people are like, do Mel Kiper Jr., and like half the audience like, who? And I'm like, Todd, tremendous situation. At the end of the day, you're going to have yourself some Count Chocula, and you'll eat the cereal, but what you got left over? Chocolatey milk. It's scrumptious, incredible beverage, and it'll last you out. High risk, no reward. Oh,
that's too funny. FrankOnStage.com, where you get a lot more information and everything about the show at Rivers Casino on Saturday, December 30th. All right, and you're right. A lot of people, at least in our travels, know you from the sports end. So what is the impression that you get that they ask you most about that they want you to do?
Well, it's a mix. It depends on what people like. I mean, the Morgan Freeman, because of the LeBron letter, and what I've started doing is narrating my life as LeBron James, or not as LeBron James, as Morgan Freeman. Yes, sometimes Caliendo forgets who he's talking about. See, like that. But I've done a bunch of Vines that kind of started that way back when Vine was popular. It was Morgan Freeman narrating himself, so you'd see the refrigerator door open. He's like, that's when he realized he had no milk for his cereal. And soon Morgan Freeman would be headed to the grocery store. And those kinds of things, and just taking people and doing the impressions. The sports analysts are really what I found an easy or are easy characters to do that with, because we always hear people like a Charles Barkley or when he's paying attention. Well, that's a great thing about Charles Barkley. They'll ask him, it'll be a bad game. It'll be like the Nuggets versus the Kings or something that the rest of the country doesn't really care about. It's like, I'm not really paying attention, but let me tell you what, Kim Jong-un is crazy. This guy is going to blow up the world. But isn't that funny, too, that they ask, like, Charles Barkley, I get off on tangents here. That's when the audience realized that Frank couldn't just stick to one subject. They'll ask Charles Barkley about stuff going on in the world. And it's because he's one of the rare honest people that will just tell you what he actually thinks. Like, the Middle East is a big problem right now. People just can't get along. He's Charles Barkley. Right? I mean, and nothing against him, because he's an intelligent guy, all kinds of, but it's amazing to me. He doesn't have a degree in anything that relates to Middle Eastern history. So
it's so funny that they'll have him on CNN. I think there's problems going on in Washington right now. What? So that's the kind of stuff that blows me away. But it's because he's honest and throws it right out there. I think, and he's fun to watch because you never know what you're going to get with Charles. When I first met him, he's like, Frank, you got to keep doing me. I'm like, what? You got to keep doing that impression of me. And I was like, why is that? He said, because every time you do it, I make more money.
All right. How about this, Frank? How about if you're Jon Gruden, do you want the Giants job?
I'll tell you what, man. I don't even think the Giants want the Giants jobs, man. That's some bad situation right there. Eli Manning has played for the past 27 and a half years as the quarterback. Suddenly something's gone. If I got to get a haircut like the last coach had, we're going to have a problem, man.
That's good. That is good.
I'm just going to go not coach Tennessee, huh? How's that sound?
Frank Caliendo, the great and always hilarious.
I'm sorry to cut you off. Are they talking? Yeah. I've been out of it for a couple of days. Are they talking about Gruden coming back and coaching the Giants?
Yeah,
or is that just something you're throwing out there now?
No, he said on Monday Night Football that he would be, I'll say, interested if Eli came back.
Really?
Yeah.
So, he texts me sometimes. The greatest thing in the world is he'll text me at like 2 o'clock in the morning because that's like lunch for him. And he'll be like, I just did an impersonation of you, Frank. And I'm like, what? And I'm too scared of him to ask what that means. But now I watch all those commercials wondering if he's just pretending to be me doing an impression of him.
8 o'clock Saturday night at Rivers Casino. Frank Caliendo will be there, and he joins us here on Big Board Sports 104.5 The Team, ESPN Radio. Frank, as a person who grew up as a Notre Dame fan watching Lou Holtz, I have to ask you to give us a little Lou Holtz, if you would, on the current college football playoff.
But let's look at what's going on there. You got Alabama and Georgia. They're not playing each other right away. But Alabama got against Clemson, and you gotta say that when people said Ohio State deserved to be, deserved to be. It was the Fighting Irish and Notre Dame. I don't care how many losses you have. There's always going to be taking the one. And sometimes why?
It's just off the
The great thing I say about Lou Holtz, because he's one that I bring up later in the show sometimes. Usually people will call it out. But like people who don't know him, I'm like, Lou Holtz, coach at Notre Dame, national champion type level. And then he went to South Carolina, still wearing the Notre Dame hat while he coached at South Carolina. That tells you something about a man's love for his college.
Before I ask you for a few more, how long does it take you to get this down for a Barkley, a Holtz that you have so darn good? How long does it take you?
Well, Lou Holtz took no effort. It's just kind of Elmer Fudd and just messing around. Elmer Fudd with a cold, I think, is what it is. They're all different, and they all take time. It's the cadence that makes something work. I mean, how many Christopher Walkens have you heard? A high, a low, in the middle. But you know who it is because they ignore punctuation. It's the same kind of thing. Gruden does that thing where he tells you what he's about to say and then punctuates it with a last phrase.
President Obama talked slow at the beginning and speed up at the end.
So it's finding those things. You don't always have to have the pitch or the note correct. You can just find those cadences, and like with Mel Kiper Jr., tremendous situation, da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da-da-da, and at the end of the day, you'd be hard-pressed to tell me otherwise. It's finding those things. And and it's fun to take them, and what I'll do is I have more fun with them instead of trying to be the real voice. Like, the people know me the most for John Madden. And it's funny to listen to me doing John Madden like 10 years ago, because the voice was up real high, I listened to it, I'm like, people thought that sounded like John Madden. Man, am I a con man to pull that off?
But then I got to the John Madden voice, the way that he really did talk and would say the kinds of things that he would say.
And then I started to get it to the point where it was just a caricature to the 95th power to the where he sounded like he was eating the turducken while he was talking.
Frank, while we're on Madden, can you give us a little Madden on Brett Favre's post-football career as an infomercial salesman?
I mean, you look at all the things that he would do on the field, and now you might see him shaving with a really great blade, or you might see him on a tractor coaching a high school football team. Those are just the things that Brett Favre can do, and if he can sell almost as good as he could throw off his back foot. I mean that's what makes Brett Favre.
How many voices are in your head, Frank, that we don't actually get to hear?
That are famous, or just people telling me not to do something evil?
Either or.
I don't know. There's so many different weird impressions that I could do that nobody would ever get, like Max Wright, the dad from Alf. Lynn, Brian, nobody gets those. Or even a fun one like a Norm Macdonald. I love watching like Norm Macdonald, which I have to explain to some people, who I think this man is a genius, because he can get laughs out of people about talking about something as simple as going to buy some food. He's like, "Did you ever go to the grocery store?" It was hard for you to think of the word grocery store. That just cracks me up. It's just amazing.
All right, how about Stephen A?
I'm incredulous to this entire situation. I have to understand what's going on here. You have to realize that the vociferousness and the contemplation, I haven't said anything yet, and I've used a vocabulary that's not unthesaurus-like.
All right, how about Chris Berman?
Yeah, Chris Berman is just Morse code grunting now.
Frank, we've seen Morgan Freeman's reaction to your impression of him. Who have you gotten the most over-the-top reaction from, whether they like it or not?
Gruden references me on Monday Night Football now sometimes.
Yep.
So, that's always, Madden never said anything about me. It's weird because a lot of times people worry that it's going to hurt their business. But like I said, with the Charles Barkley stuff, Charles has actually gotten other people on board. He's like, you got to let Caliendo do an impression. You're going to make more money from it. Let me tell you, is $5 box? Come on, that was ridiculous. But yeah, I'm trying to think. I don't know the biggest reaction. I don't know. I think it's probably Gruden or Barkley. Those guys are at least way up there. I did a sketch with Trump years ago, way before he was. Yeah. It was one of the first 3 or 4 times he was running for president. But I don't know. People, they tend not to do too much with it because they're afraid of what it would do exactly.
Frank, we really appreciate a few minutes here. It's awesome. We were so looking forward to having you on. I know that the Capital Region fans looking forward to showing up at Rivers Casino on Saturday, December 30th. And I know for all the information, frankonstage.com. You're the best.
Yeah, appreciate it, guys. Thank you much.